Do we have any public input? No public input. Approval of the minutes from September 17th, 2025.
So.
All those in favor? All those against? None. So. Discuss and act on the development of the public safety complex, including but not limited to proposed designs. Let's start there. We do, Mr. Michelle.
Got a copy from Jen of the actual last engineered plans when the what are the surface going in there? And I did this is the building right here. And if you have this is slightly off scale. So you can't just put a rule on it and say everything's just gonna, it's not all by much, but they're in a copy involved, but got changed. So here's the 20-foot building setback. Here's 40 feet, but understand they want to be able to bring the trucks down, have them outside the building. So we go like that. Even like that. I miss this line. And we have we've got this here, which is, I guess, where these communications electric enter. So if it goes like that, you're outside the 125, you're just gonna miss that, you're gonna hit this. And 40 feet, I'm not sure, that won't get the ladder truck. But I don't know if that could be. Okay, so question I have is how and how you feel. How can I make this? This is the scale though, it's all going into 1 to 20. One thing we have is the rescue barn has 12-foot doors. Not at all 14s. And I think these should be changed. The rescue doors should be changed to 14s. I'm sorry, to 12. Because that will gain some space, give a little more room, in between the doors on this wall. And on this wall, 3 doors, we can shorten this building 6 feet in this direction. The other thing I'm looking at is we have the depth of this is partly done by this ladder truck. So if we take these 2 ladder trucks and can slide them down here, put the shorter engines here, then we could possibly bring this shorter too, because the other trucks are only 31 and 32 feet. And this was drawn with 6 feet back from the door. So if we could bring this wall close, which is this wall, then maybe we could bring that back far enough to miss this box. And also to bring it back.
I think we've intellectually been able to. Just.
We're gonna have to at some point.
But if this is a little short, again, we still have enough room for everything Scott laid out. We can bring this back, pulls it away from that section, pulls it away back here, makes the building a little smaller, but you still have what you need in it. And one of the things we didn't talk about when we were doing the square footage you needed, we were talking about mostly this area and this area. But we also have this area here, which could be a lot of storage back here. Right now, we have a lot of area here, which can be storage back here. And I was thinking about stairs. Right now, what's another thing for you or Chris to answer? Right now, we have 8 feet between the mirrors on these trucks. Now, and I have 3 feet out for each of these supports, pylons, whatever you want to call them, out on the face of the building. If we could shrink these to 2 and have 7 feet between the mirrors, that might make it a little shorter this way. And I'm not trying to squeeze it too much, but I'm just trying to make it fit. Because you're starting to end up going down the hill. And then stairs, picturing stairs, and they go, stair sets go in between the ladders and go upstairs and downstairs. So, was it a lot easier than going crossways? The causeway is gonna take too much room, it's gonna take too much out of the bays.
Mm.
Where do you think this will move to?
That's gonna move over here
Well,
after we're done.
so I actually have that question as well, because I'm trying to describe it. In the RFQ.
Mhm.
Will we not answer this question, but ultimately, do we see this section coming down?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So this, I basically said that it can move to the western edge. Whether it's here or a little further down.
What we envision with what we've driven or drawn, Scott and I, for the rescue building portion of it. This is the this is the new piece of the police. This all goes. That gets made to this.
This building today,
Gonna go. Oh,
So that would take
Basically,
the existing
yeah.
dispatch out.
Correct.
correct? Also,
Yes.
right? Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna go
So up
in.
here in that wall.
Is
Yeah.
there a basement?
Yep.
under here?
No, there's a basement under here. There's not on this edge.
so this building right here today, the garage doors face this way. What the chief and I spent time building here. Is basically this, taking this. And turning it. So if this was the doors,
Mhm.
taking it, moving it, turning it right here. So the doors are gonna face backwards. His sally port for the police to bring prisoners in. Will be right here.
If you're thinking to leave those garage doors, and when you bring someone in,
Well,
you,
one of them, because I need
yeah,
to, in the part of the the whole accreditation process is having a secure sally port. You need to have somewhere secure that you can drive into.
that makes sense. Yeah.
And we mapped this all out. Scott and I did a
Mhm.
couple months ago and went in the fire barn, took measurements. And this leaves enough room to be able to drive in, close the door. And now you have them.
They have room 17 by 32. They got room. For a full police car and open up doors on either side, deal with the prisoner without them being pushed into a wall or having to navigate. So if you can picture this building now, it can turn 90 degrees.
Mhm.
The police can bring a prisoner in here. This garage door gets removed and wall gets built. This is the dispatch center now.
Mhm.
So we block off that door. We have the dispatch center. You still have that entrance door into the ambulance building today that takes you to the second floor. We have no plans today to do anything with the second floor. It's the police looking at using that for seasonal housing. Everything we've talked about, the chief and I to this point, is everything dealing with the first floor. Which the first floor is open on a slab right now. So it allows for us a lot of latitude in moving stuff around.
Mhm.
So the thought would be, there's a door here today. And that door would tie, we locate the building, so that door would tie to the police station wherever it
Yep.
makes sense today. This is a storage area right now in that building. We're gonna turn that into a public restroom for public.
Mhm.
Here would be a public lobby for the public to come in. A front door, glass, 18 inches on either side, and then a 3.0 glass door.
Mhm.
You walk in and this is dispatch. And there's bulletproof glass right here, 7 foot by 3 foot tall bulletproof glass. And a door for the dispatcher to either buzz to let somebody from the lobby in, or for the police to interact with the public, or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
Over here is your electrical room today. We would maintain that. We may move the wall a foot or so to gain a little more space, but we're gonna leave that electrical room. This is a bathroom today. We're gonna leave that as a bathroom for the dispatchers. So dispatchers will have their own
Their
bathroom.
own bathroom right there. yeah.
They're gonna have a kitchenette, kind of an open room kitchenette
Mhm.
set up. We just gotta think about, do we wanna give the dispatchers lockers? If so, where would we place them or something like that? They deserve something to have their own personal whatever.
So these two, the restaurant and the kitchenette are open to the center, which means they can access both of those without leaving them.
The dispatcher, yes, yep.
So you got 18 by 32 for a dispatch center here, and then you subtract out that.
Obviously, the bathroom has a wall and a door.
It does today, yeah, it does today,
The kitchen,
so we're not changing a lot of that existing
no,
rescue building at all. We're adding a wall between the Sally Port and the dispatch, adding a couple non-bearing walls here. Adding some stuff here. So the public, today, the public walks in and they're in a very narrow space when you walk in the front door at the station. This is gonna give you an 8 foot wide by 32, 23 by 8 foot. And these measurements, don't anybody get hang up on any of the measurements, because we can afford to lose a foot or two anywhere and add a foot or two anywhere in the Sally Port, the dispatch, the lobby, wherever we need to make things work and make sense. That's up to an architect, because we didn't take into account the thickness of walls, any of that stuff. We did the planning here so far. So,
Paul, right now, this is where your office is,
yes.
and this is the dispatch area.
No, there's a little alcove in between where the sewer system, the commute, basically, can I borrow your pencil stuff? This is kind of like just a little hallway area.
Well,
The
here's
di-
where we
the
walk in
dispatch is-
now, and
what's
the
that?
dispatcher sit here.
Yeah, the dispatch, right, the dispatch is, all right, so probably right in here. So it's right in here.
so the advantages to what we're talking about. And I dealt with this a couple of years ago when I rebuilt the dispatch center in North Kingston. We put the dispatch console, either we place it here or here. It's up to the chief and the dispatchers how they think they'd like it to lay out. But above this glass, there's 6 feet from this glass where the glass would go. From there to the ceiling, there's 6 feet right now. We would take advantage of that wall for closed circuit television, for monitors, for any security around the island. Now and into the future, the dispatcher will have access, and we'll have television monitor screens up there that they can access whatever security everyone wants.
So if we take off this amount here,
Yeah.
we're gonna, lose square footage.
When you say lose square
Well,
footage,
this is where the fire.
it's all going away. This is all old. This is all some rot in the
Right.
walls and stuff. So from here,
Right, I
it's
understand
all
that,
being
but
demolished.
this is where the fire trucks go in.
Yeah.
And they don't go in here.
Correct.
Dispatch.
Is that where the
But-
pickups are, Paul?
So if you do
Is
this,
that where the pickup trucks go in?
this square footage is more
Which
than
other
that.
section?
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, but this is going to be police. This is going to be fire.
Can I just say,
Yeah.
these are where the big trucks are?
Yeah.
Isn't this where the pickups
Yes,
back in?
yeah.
So this is not all dispatch.
Right.
So some of this is
I
still,
understand that. All I'm saying is that if all of this goes away, right now, dispatch is to here,
Yeah.
right?
No, dispatches, see the edge of pavement right here? This line? Dispatch is from here to here.
Okay, so all this is fire.
Yep,
Behind dispatch is their meeting room.
Okay. All right, so it's about the same amount of square footage that you'll have.
Dispatch,
except that-
dispatch is gonna end up with more than double the square
More.
footage they have today.
Hmm.
Dispatch shares this little kitchenette in this meeting room. Dispatch will have their own kitchenette now. So police are going to enjoy 40 feet by 42 feet of what we'll call new space, plus the second story on that for seasonal housing. They'll get their Sally Port that they need for accreditation. We'll be able to upgrade the dispatch center and modernize it for fire alarm, and some of the other things. One of the things that, needs to be discussed at some point, by the town as a whole You have a fire alarm office in here. Howell Connon's office is in here right now. I foresee some of that equipment going into dispatch here. It doesn't all need to be in a locked room over there. The dispatcher should be able to monitor some of that from time to time. So that's why we're affording more space here, to take some of that into account. So I think Doug has done a good job here in tightening things up. I think we can make it work. I need to study the numbers a little bit, but I think we can make it work. I think we're headed in the right direction.
And Doug, the 40-foot setback was to be able to get the trucks out onto the.
I think that was a suggestion, yeah, so it's 40 feet. Jeremiah put 20 feet, and I think he wanted 40 because most of the trucks will fit out. The new ladder will not, but most of the trucks will be able to go out and shut the doors behind them.
There's approximately 13-foot drop between this elevation and.
Right, so I was gonna say that probably helps us navigate the grade a little better then.
Yes.
Dig out.
It'll definitely have a slope to it, on purpose.
Yeah, but not that much of a slope. I mean, they're gonna have
Not like-
to, excavate that hill.
But at 13 feet, if we had, if the floor in this garage is 12 inches higher than the road, you'll never even see that or feel that in 40 feet. At 2 feet, you won't really feel that.
I don't know what you're
So-
saying. But you have to excavate this hill in order
Right.
to do that.
But if we
Yeah.
put we would never put this garage floor at the same height as the road
No.
because we don't want water to go in.
So you have to
So-
excavate 10 or 11 feet.
Yes, basically, yes. That's what you're saying. Yes, I agree.
And I guess the question is, if you have fire equipment in here, there's no room for a second means of egress because you have hillside on them.
Second means of
Egress
egress,
from this space.
you'll have.
I mean,
Isn't this
But you-
entire wall?
well, the front is,
And so will this whole side.
no, it won't because it'll be.
It's already dropping off though.
Yeah, but it's still into the hill. This
That
is,
side can open to ground level, no, it won't be. Because it's gonna open to daylight, this whole wall can open to daylight, you can put windows in there and doors. This does not have to be a concrete wall, because it's gonna be
Correct.
unsupported, whatever.
well, this and this,
This will be concrete wall backfilled. And what you have from the parking lot right now to the, if we do it like this, the edge here, you have an 18-foot drop from here to here. If you go along the road from here to here, you have an 8-foot height differential right now between the way it is
Yeah.
right now.
well, I guess this, whoever the engineer is gonna have to deal with that.
Doug, I think you were trying to ask how you get this into this in a.
That into that?
Like, so how do we move from paper cutouts to a tool that can actually be distributed easily?
Oh, the engineer would have to do.
I could, you want me just to
I
draw
think I
this
might-
one here?
I think I might need this drawn on here
Okay.
in red with dimensions so that I can then scan the entire thing as an exhibit to the RFQ
Okay,
to give people a sense of what we're proposing for siting.
okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah.
I think that will also be really helpful for the council discussion next week.
I will do that. I'll get that. I'll
I
probably
think-
I'm probably bringing in Monday. That's enough time for you to copy.
Yep, yep. And the big size I think is better.
Yeah, well, this is the scale, so.
Yeah.
And this is the actual plans that were submitted. And behind it is also I think the prior plan for the rescue building that they used to put the Certex information on. So. But then think about if it's worth it, for size, you make the rescue building smaller, bring it back 6 feet. See how everything falls in there,
Yeah, I think to know that we can go smaller is helpful.
but leave it as it is.
I have a question. And that is. And I guess it'll be up to you and whoever architectural engineering firm is, but. Would be less expensive, I think. To move this way.
Then you have to move the rescue building
Yeah.
first. And I don't think we can afford to do that. Both for cost and operations. Having it here allows these two facilities to continue to operate while we're building the new one.
If you went all the way to the corner like that. Then. This building would be in the way, this building would be in the way, and think of fire trucks coming out. I would think a fire truck would want to be further away from the corner when they pull out. Here, there's enough room for them all to get out and be able to make that corner, even the ladder trucks.
And it's still quite a slope over.
Mhm. Well, it's not gonna change from here to here. It is gonna be an engineering marvel. I don't know what,
But that's what engineers get paid for.
that's right. And I would suggest again, if it's possible, to clear that hill, brush cut, and have town engineer come out, and take a look at it before you issue the order. You
Take
make
a
up
look
your
at it for
specs,
what?
but, huh?
Take a look at it for what?
Have them say, all right, I'm looking at this slope, I don't think this is feasible, or yes, I think it will work, proper engineering.
He can't do that, you really have to.
I think you want the person who's
Right.
charged with
Okay.
building
Yeah.
to tell you.
Mhm.
Or, because then you can engage in the, okay, if this doesn't work, then this, or the narrative, how do we make it work?
Yeah, I can get that and you can double check with CRMCs.
And then that's part of their requirements is the environmental improvement.
Think we have a basic concept. And when you bring in the experts, they can look at how this is gonna fit, how it's not gonna fit. They can tell you whether you can shave off another few feet or have to add a couple of feet. I think we're headed in the right direction for sure.
When I put this down, you want me to ignore this? We talked about going 5 feet from the rescue building last thing, because we figured how close can you get? We
Right.
thought 5 feet would be safe. I push it over as far as possible and ignore this line and then put the marks on it, okay?
The way we're reconfiguring everything, including dispatch, all of those utilities.
Yeah, it's gonna be, the excavation's gonna impact it anyhow.
Yes.
So what's gotten the chief worked on today in terms of the rescue building, which feels like a big step forward?
Mhm.
Are we thinking about, I am thinking about that as phase 2.
Mhm.
Which always has that risk of, do you ever get to phase 2? But I don't think that we can undertake both simultaneously. I think they have to be sequenced.
I think you have to have it approved in the budget as part of an overall project. And as soon as the fire department moves in here,
Then you start.
then you can start demolish this, because they're gonna need parking. So to leave this up for a year or more would not be practical. So once you get rid of all this, the thought of picking this up and moving it at that point is not,
It's not the moving of it,
Well,
feels
phase one.
expensive. It's everything that happens after you move it that feels really expensive.
Yeah, the chief and I talked about that today. I've been talking with some of the people here on the island about island costs. And theoretically, this work can be done by local people here. If we chose to do that, we can have it as part of this general contract for the whole project all as one.
or we can hire this out to whoever submits a responsible bid. And then if the town said, you know what, we'll handle this internally with Block Island folks, we can get the mover. You've got local people here that can do the excavation and the concrete, if it saves you money. You are, absolutely, absolutely, you're right.
Okay.
Moving this over here at the end of the day, when this whole project is done, is an integral part of everything we've been talking about since January. Because he needs additional space that he doesn't get otherwise. And it's not, we talked about it briefly, there's no practical way to renovate some of this space and make it work for him.
So if you're building a dispatch center over here,
Mhm.
which is currently part of the program,
Mhm.
and everybody's moving here, at least on the
Temporary.
interim,
Mhm.
does it in fact make sense to move them back?
Theoretically,
That's a good.
no, but theoretically, we were going to put a temporary dispatch center in here, so you'd have it as a backup. But the dispatcher being where the police officers are, being where the prisoners are, was our thought.
Mhm.
We didn't invest in a dispatch center here in the real world. We said, we're gonna take this room and we're gonna be able to move the equipment in here. We'll run conduits to run the equipment in here, and it'll be in here during the construction. And this will always be a backup dispatch center. Should something happen there, we can move the dispatcher over here in a matter of an hour or so and be back up and running again.
What is the part that's staying? What is in there? Your office and what else?
Perhaps maybe you should come for a field trip, Arlene.
I've been there. Your office is in here and then there's a big meeting room, right? Or a small.
Yeah, there's a smaller meeting room downstairs in the jail cell and the processing room. Upstairs is offices, my office and a lieutenant's office and the other office. Okay.
Or so. If you put the dispatch, this is the rescue floor. You got 3 doors here for future vehicles. You could build a temporary dispatch back here. You could always leave it as an emergency one later. But a lot of this room too is being used for some of the things that Scott laid out for us last meeting. As far as use. So if you put the dispatch center here, could be shortchanged on the rest of the space you need.
I guess my point was, if. Would it make any sense? And I don't know this, if we left this here. To, instead of moving it and doing all that, do all the changes, but also. Get rid of this too and just add it on to that. It's a smaller piece.
Say that again?
Get rid of this section,
Get rid of the entire building?
right?
No, that's not gonna work. You won't have enough room over here, because inside here.
No, add, put an addition on here.
There's nothing wrong with that building.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
fairly
The new
new.
police building.
It's the newest piece, well, second newest piece of that. Rescue is the newest piece.
Plus, this can't go here because you can't get your trucks out. This has got to be.
Yeah, no, I just
Okay.
moved
Mhm.
it.
I know.
No reason to go. You know, it's easy to go.
The other practicalities that everyone's gonna keep in mind is. The ambulances are gonna come out on the top still.
Yeah.
So we've gotta have this gone so they can make their sweeps plus the parking and.
And there's enough. You're going 40 feet out from here, so that's,
Yes.
yeah,
So
so there's enough room for you to come around
Yeah.
this way.
Well, can we get together this weekend And maybe we can delineate, here's the new police station,
Mhm.
here's the dispatch, here's the fire department meeting room back here. And that might make it clear for the council and everybody else too. Hey, this is what's in here now.
Mhm.
It might be easier to say, hey, this is what's gonna disappear later.
Yep.
Maybe just take some measures and put them on here.
When is the police?
They're gonna talk about it on Monday. And my goal for that conversation is to socialize this concept. Confirm that we're committed to this location in the absence of any other
Mm.
records. Give them some visuals about where we're thinking, what we're looking at in terms of size, the concept of moving the rescue building over to the police. And just sort of get their blessing to issue the RFP and keep moving with the process. RFQ. It does say RFP. That's the goal. Informational and yes.
And I think they should know that it's subject to change depending on what the experts.
Absolutely.
come up with.
I think that's kind of where we're at
Yeah.
right now, is that we have a general idea of
Right.
where we would like things.
Yeah, a good start.
How we would like to shift things around as the project gets moved forward. We now need the professional to say, you're out of your mind, or this will totally work.
Or it'll work with.
It works from our standpoint, it
Mhm.
works from yours and
Mhm.
Chief Hobie's too.
Right.
So that's important. And yeah, I'd be
Mhm.
surprised actually if they came back and said, no, this doesn't.
Hmm.
I think we've solved a lot of the
They're gonna ask about that.
possible issues.
A lot of the
They're gonna ask for
questions.
resistance.
Yeah.
Oh. Mhm. So I think this gets us past proposed designs, assessments, plans, and locations. On those three. And Doug, that is what.
Actually.
And we
Um,
talk about.
Sure.
The airport for a auxiliary.
Okay,
I didn't have a question.
the airport for an auxiliary.
Is that a question or a statement?
It's a question you were gonna check and see.
There's no indication from RIAC that they're open to that. We haven't taken it off the table, but they're not willing to discuss. So we'll keep pushing, but we can't stop our process.
Yeah, if that comes, yeah,
That'll come up.
further down the road.
Hmm.
Great, not. you deal with that.
Already discuss and act on the RFQ.
So I couldn't get this printed for you all. Just couldn't make that happen. So let me see if I can put the important parts on the screen and I'll have Laurel send it out to the committee.
Mhm.
That way, if people do have comments, if you can send them this week, that would be helpful.
But what do we have to discuss about the public safety zone?
I believe Chris brought that up at the last meeting, or somebody did, and we asked to put that on there, and for the life of me,
I think I mentioned that Jen Brady was working on what a public safety zone would look like for zoning to, put it forward to the council to establish one. We could have it at the medical center and the school.
Laurel, do you see that? Me trying to come in? No. Okay. Oh. You know what? Why is that? Let me try a different link. I was trying to get into the wrong meeting. Okay. So, like I said, I will send this around electronically, but I think there are two parts that I'd like people to look at. One is to make sure that we're describing the program in the way that we all think is accurate. And this program background section pulls from some of the items that Scott and Chief Hobie put together in terms of locating at 10 Beach Ave, approximately 19,000 square feet, proposing the two-story building. I will include the attachment, both Doug's plans and hopefully the site plan as well. Supporting fire on the lower level, opening onto Ocean Ave, and then rescue and lighter vehicles on the second story, opening onto or driving onto eventually Beach Ave. The topography suggests this orientation is possible. The consultant will confirm viability of this proposed program. That really gets to the grade question. Outlining some of the space there, 7 fire vehicles stored single deep, as well as some of the additional training storage, general storage needs. And then the upper level 5 bays for ambulance and other vehicles, approximately 4,800 square feet for offices, kitchen, bunk room, et cetera, alternate dispatch office. And so we do have proposed space possibly for fire alarm and communications over here. Space is space at this point, I'd say. NFPA compliance. And then this is the section I will build out based on today's conversation. The existing rescue building may be repurposed and relocated alongside the police station to create the Sally Port. I can be a lot more articulate about that exercise. So I'll build that out over the next few days. So I'd like you to look at the background, and then the next step, if you can also put your attention on, is what we're asking in terms of scope of work. So one is to review what we've proposed as a program and help us finalize that in terms of requirements. 2, engage with the community in at least one session is what I envision, maybe more, and certainly engage with the committee around needs so that they're hearing and validating that as well. 3 is then working on site plans for review and evaluation, conceptual designs. A lot of that, again, we've already done, but if they are able to come up with an alternative, I think we want to hear that. Review infrastructure needs in terms of sewer, water, parking, traffic, communications, things like that. E is the environmental zoning and other requirements in terms of permitting, to make sure this is all going to be possible from the external agencies. And then we move into cost estimates and conceptual plans for the different designs that they may be able to put together. So again, ideally ours would be one of those, but if they're able to come up with additional, great. And that sort of takes us through this scope, which is up through comparison of different conceptual plans, if there are more than one, presentation to the public, including materials that we could take to financial town meeting, which would have a budget attached to them, and sort of stopping just before final bid documents, final plans, things like that. All of that would be phase two once we've got funding approval in place. So that was kind of how I envisioned this. There's a lot of boilerplate RFP stuff for those of you who don't like to read those. But if you can focus on those two areas, that's really the meat of what we're trying to achieve.
You might want to say in there that whoever the firm that's selected, not necessarily guaranteed to do completed drawings.
It does say that somewhere, that phase one and phase two are separate contracts. And one of the things I do struggle with, and you'll see this highlighted, is because it's an RFQ, this isn't going to include pricing detail. This is just going to be qualifications and experience. And so there'll be a whole nother round after we select a contractor in terms of pricing. Exhibit A is going to be your evaluation criteria, which again is pretty standard. Have you submitted a completed package and answered all the questions we've asked? The firm, background, team, capacity, things like that, overall experience, direct experience with public projects in general, public safety buildings, logistics of the island, and the nuance. I'm going to send this whole document to you. And then experience with fixed budgets, constrained footprints. Those are some of the unique aspects of ours. This is not an open checkbook and we don't have a lot of other options. So take a look at that. Again, I'd love to have comments back this week so that as soon as the council has their meeting, assuming they're on board, we can get that out on the street. In the process that I've laid out here, Charlene's the point person for bids for the town, so she continues to administer all that. Questions will either come through her to myself or likely Chief Hobie and or Scott. And the Chief Hobie and I are both listed in the RFQ, so that it's likely that people may pick up the phone and just call him, and that's okay. At least they know who the point of contact is. And then all the responses would, I envision, come back to the committee for evaluation. We will then make recommendation back to the council for any award. And I feel like there's one other thing I wanted to point out.
We're gonna have a meeting to interview the top contenders.
Yes. I also put in a, oh, I think I have a,
If there are more than one.
take this out. I also put in a pre-bid conference, which is not mandatory, but for people who are not familiar with the site, I think being able to see it and talk with some of the members of the committee and be there in real life will make a big difference. So we've put that option in as well. That's what I got.
That should be very scheduled.
That is the responsibility of the bidder. Just like if you can't get your bid materials here on time, we don't want you as our contractor. So, you have to be able to figure that out yourself. So.
Okay.
If you, I know you guys mentioned the public safety zone. Jen has put together a draft and there are a couple elements that I'm working on as well. It's because the zones for school, medical, community center, I think there's utility. I think there are four zones that already exist. And they're not necessarily consistent across all of them. So I'm just doing a little bit more work about that, but that's something that I will bring up for the council as well to see if there's an appetite for them to authorize an ordinance change permitting a public safety zone. But I don't know that in our design, we've actually hit any barriers where we're requesting specific relief. We've actually worked within, except maybe lot coverage. But I think we've actually met most of the criteria that currently exists.
Like that. Zoning. And I don't see any problem with the zoning board
Yeah.
at all beyond setback. Our major thing will be coastal, CRC.
So even if there's not an appetite for a public safety zone, I think we are fine for moving forward, so.
The utility zone is directly across the street.
Yep.
And that includes highway garage also?
No,
It's not just.
just the parking.
It was established like in 1990.
Mm-hmm.
But they had to go through historic district, they have to go through historic district.
Yes, yep, it would, absolutely. I think the one part it might allow that could be tricky, but we haven't gotten a lot of detail on yet, would be living quarters.
Mhm.
So that might be where we need relief, the integration of residential and public safety.
Now, I know the existing fire barn has a meeting room. I know that was always something that was sort of sacred or always wanted.
Mhm.
We don't necessarily have that in Ames designs, correct?
Do have
Yeah.
space for meeting,
Space for,
two different sizes
okay.
in the proposal.
Probably not as big as what it is.
One is probably square footage wise, one is probably equal to what there is
Okay.
today, and
Mhm.
one's small.
Hmm.
I think you're probably right, 600 feet.
Anybody have anything else?
I think we got a good plan. Going forward.
Make a motion of adjourn.
Somebody second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Oh. So moved.